So hello and welcome back to the Champ.ie podcast, and I want to wish all podcast listeners a very happy new year and happy punting, I suppose, for 2020. I'm joined on the podcast once again by Mr. Thomas Coyle, trainer from Ballarstown, County Meath. Good evening, Thomas.
How are you, Barry? How are you?
Great to have you back. Ronan Groome from the Irish Field. Good evening, Ronan.
Evening, Barry. How are you keeping? You all good?
Brilliant stuff. And Andrew Blair-White as well from Foxrock, County Dublin, the Blair-White blog. Great to have you back, Andrew.
Cheers, Barry. Great to be on again.
And a happy new year to all you lads, and hopefully we find loads of winners. Looking back, I suppose, at the festive period and the Christmas racing, Andrew, you were at Leopardstown all 4 days. I might start with you. I suppose one horse or performance to take away from the 4 days, I suppose, at Leopardstown, Kempton, Limerick. You name it, I suppose. You tell us.
So I've got two if I can. One at Leopardstown being the Mullins horse in the bumper on the second day, horse called Appreciate It. He won by 6 lengths. He looked quite smart. He's interested in the same connections, won the race a couple of years ago with Carefully Selected, who's a good horse in his own right. And they went on to the champion bumper with him that year, having won this race. I know it was 2-4, but it wouldn't surprise me if they have a crack at the champion bumper with this guy and try and make all like they did with Carefully Selected. The form looks decent enough. Ragnar Lodbrok was well beaten, and he was in that Eric Bloodaxe Fernie Hollow race at Ferryhouse, so it doesn't look too bad. And one just from across the water, I thought All Mankind in the juvenile race at Chepstow was just unbelievable, because he's such a strong puller. You just can't think he's going to get home in these races. And yet he battled on well. He put Cerberus really in his place, and I quite rate Cerberus, to be honest. But he was the best juvenile form in Ireland up until Christmas. I know Aspire Tower looked strong enough, but All Mankind really put him in his place. He beat Bodock's Haas the last time at Cheltenham as well, so he looks a leading contender for the triumph.
Absolutely, of course, he's won at the Cheltenham course as well, as which I suppose stands him. Because I did like Appreciated, Ronan. I suppose of the 4 days of racing at Leopardstown or even across the water at Kempton, what was your takeaway performance?
Yeah, I might quickly give 2 as well. I liked Easy Work down at. Thought he did it really nicely. Beat a horse called Unaccepted and beat him very easily. 22 lengths, I think, was the winning margin at the end. I think we talked about him before. He's a nice looking profile now. He's 3 from 3. He beat Leinster, who obviously bolted up as well at Leopardstown on the same day. He looks to be going the right way. I think he's into about second favourite now for the Ballymore. And I think he's great quality. And the other one, maybe it's an obvious one, but I don't think he's got the same kind of credit he deserved as the Gold Cup winner, Alboom Foe. I thought he was brilliant down at Tremor yesterday. Really tanked through the race. And it was a fair performance, first time up to give £11 to his stablemate Acapella Bourgeois. And he looks on track on a kind of Christmas, over the Christmas period, where like there was a lot of questions about the Gold Cup horses, like at Leopardstown, where they've all finished in a heap, and Clanley's Oak and the other disappointments in the in George. I think he put a fairly rock solid case forward again that he looks the one to beat in March. So yeah, Alboom Foe, a nice comeback for me anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. But the second place horse as well, Acapella Bourgeois, I suppose he's rated a good £20. Is he below Alboom Foe? I thought it was a decent run as well. Maybe one of the nationals. I know we ran a great race in at Ferryhouse in the Irish National last year, but definitely I think he's obviously in good form as well. And yeah, as you say, a good return for Alboom Foe. Thomas Coyle, great run by your mare. Go at it again in the bumper as well, just at Punchestown yesterday. But I suppose apart from yourself, Leopardstown, Kempton, Limerick, did anything stand out for you?
Yeah, look, I thought Sharjah was very impressive. I know the race might have fallen apart with Course of Lime and that, but he couldn't have travelled any better into the race, and between himself and maybe Epatante there in Kempton, It's still, the champion hurdle market is still wide open, but he couldn't have been more impressed the way he travelled down to the last. I know he didn't sprint away from the other horse at the end, but the way he travelled and that, he has to be a leading contender in a champion hurdle. That is still, it's still weak enough. And I don't know, did we learn that much over Christmas about it? Still, one horse isn't standing out you're saying he's going to take all the beating, but you'd imagine Charge is going to be there near the business end after that run in Leopardstown.
Just regarding Sharjah, like, I'm going to try now not be disrespectful to the horse. Obviously, Patrick Mullins is a great relationship. Second time to win that race as well. But would you like to see him maybe do it at a different track? I might be a small bit critical. Or maybe like to see him doing it at a different track before Is he a Leopardstown? I guess the question I'm asking, is he a Leopardstown specialist?
Maybe so, but we didn't really learn from Cheltenham last year when he fell so early on down the back. So I don't know. You could be right, yeah. Just him, and then just a quick mention for Faheen as well. We've talked about him before, but to do what he done to Sam Crow was pretty epic.
And he jumped so well as well. Obviously, the point-to-point background, but at 13, I'm going to actually mention a veteran later on in the show that I think as well is maybe not in the same bracket as Faheen, but we'll save that for later on. But just two for myself over Christmas. I thought Mr. Coffee was expensive. Sorry, an expensive purchase for Nicky Henderson. He won at Newbury on the 28th. Was a new race, so there was no past winners. I suppose to see just Henderson. I suppose send top class horse. He is a top class horse. He pulled very hard early on. He bet Shake 'em Up Harry by letting that. But On to Victory was third here, lads, and for Alan King, and he was rated treble figures, I suppose, on the flat. 180 was. On the flat, that's On to Victory. So I thought it was a smart performance considering how hard I suppose Mr. Coffee pulled. Nicky Henderson also comes out afterwards and says he could be a spectacular horse. So whether I suppose to take time with him or whether we could see him, I suppose we probably would have to run again if we were to see him maybe line up and maybe something like a Supreme. But I think definitely a horse going forward, that's Mr. Coffee. Sorry, he was rated 100 on the flat, was On to Victory. But he's no mug and was going well before he fell on his previous start as well. And it was looking like he was going to win. So I think the form of that race is going to work out well. That was the 12:40 at Newbury on the 28th. And just another horse, I suppose I mentioned her a couple of times now. I can't wait to see her back up and trip. Whether Willie, I suppose, keep her to Mayor's company. Just Salsoretta won at Punchestown yesterday. She had beaten Whisper in the Breeze earlier on the season, and I was just looking forward. I thought she was going to line up maybe in a Grade 1 at Leopardstown, but she comes out obviously in that mare's race at Punchestown yesterday. But I would love to see her 3 mile soft ground against the Geldons this year. Whether I suppose Willie will do that, time will tell. But looking on to this weekend coming, lads, we previewed this on the Thursday. We also, I suppose, we have the Lawlers at Naas on Sunday. We'll come to Naas after Sandown on Saturday. The Tolworth Novices Hurdle. Some smart sorts, I suppose, have won this over the years. Alexia the Nuts was last year's winner. So Colin Finney likes that. It's 2:25 at Sandown on Saturday. Fiddler on the Roof comes in here for Same Connections. Andrew Blair-White. Let's discuss, I suppose.
I was trying to look through the race and see whether I could find something that I thought would beat Fiddler on the Roof. And to be honest, I couldn't. I think 2-1 is his current price. I think that's actually not that bad a price. Obviously, with Elixir the Nuts, you know the Tizards quite like this race as a stepping stone. When he was trained in Ireland, he beat a Mullins horse called the Big Getaway in a bumper. And the Big Getaway is a lovely horse that will be a very good chaser in time, I'd have said. And you just look through his form this year for Tizard, second to Time Hill. Time Hill's a rock-solid horse. And then second to Edward Stone, who's also a very good horse from the Alan King yard. So I just think before winning at Sandown himself last time out, so he handles the course very nicely. I think he'll be prominent enough, and I can just see it turning in. He kicks for home, and I can't see anything going by him, to be honest. And I think 2-1's actually not a bad price in a race that doesn't look like it has much depth in my eyes.
Yeah, I think I like what I suppose he has the form at Sandown. Similar style actually to Alexier the Nuts, and that he gets on with it, I suppose, from the front, makes the most of his jump. And I do like that horse, Edward Stone, and that he's form tied him. And of course, he only gets beat on a season reappearance by Tyne Hill. Thomas, he was trained in Ireland. I think did he win a bumper? The same bumper at Navan. Was he owned by? Trained by Shea Barry? Am I right in saying that?
No, I think John Walsh down in Cork.
John Walsh, sorry, yeah.
Charlie Swan's young lad rode him. Yeah, look, I wouldn't be very up to the date with the English form is used. The only horse I know in the field is this horse. He won his point for Doyle. He didn't win a point this horse. Sorry, he Shirley Berry trained him as a thing. I think he ran twice, and then he went to John Walsh. I think he was third first time out, and then as Andrew said, he was ran behind the big getaway, and he also ran one of Gordon's horses, Run Wild Fred, I think it was.
Yeah,
I think that was nasty as well. Form is rock solid there. Yeah, and since he's went his last run when he won, he's beaten twice when he went over first, but he was an expensive purchase, and yeah, look, nothing really stands out. I haven't heard too much about the other horses. Not saying they're not bad horses, but I wouldn't be into the English form just as much as you guys.
I like a horse in here, Ron. I'll let you, I suppose, come in here. English form, would you be up to speed, a little bit more up to speed than Kyler?
Yeah, I like Fiddler on the Roof, and I think he should be favouring. The lads have made a decent case from there. It was actually at Navan when he won. All the chat was for the big getaway that day, and he went and beat him. So obviously changed hands for a bit of money then, and he's done nothing wrong since, and he's a course and distance winner. I do think there are a couple of potentially nice horses here. One of them is Hang In There for Emma Lavelle. He also came from Ireland. He was with Mags Mullins. Finished second in a maiden hurdle at Fairyhouse to Tony Martin's Le Tector, and obviously changed hands then. But he's won his last two, including the Supreme Novice Trial at Cheltenham, where he beat Pacify. That was a run at the kind of similar time. It was on the same day as the Greatwood and your famous Harambe, Barry. So, and I know you're a Harambe fan, and obviously that was a great race for you. But this race was actually run quite a similar time, and I don't have it off. Nearly a second or two faster, which makes this fella interesting. I think he could go okay. Yeah, Silver Hallmark. I was a big fan of him when he won. I just thought McFabulous, who he beat there, and McFabulous odds on, disappointed on his latest start at Ascot. And Sonic Thomas is in there for Nicky Henderson, jocked up already, so he's probably going to start. It just hasn't done much for me yet. Won okay on his main hurdle at Newbury, and I suppose we should mention Gavin Cromwell's mare, who's going to run. I think, presume that's Jeremy's Flame.
Yeah.
With a £7 allowance, she puts her in around the ballpark here, but I'd be disappointed if she was good enough, I suppose, in a race like this. That one of these British horses didn't have the potential to, potentially go on and be like a Supreme horse or something like that. But she's okay. She ran second to Dale Katie up at Down Royal, and she was second in enlisted mares at Newbury last time as well. I think
the Henderson's mare actually. I think the Henderson's mare are better at Newbury. I've actually put her up in the 8 points. I thought she was a good each way bet that day. Obviously brought solid form in, but I like the Henderson's mare the better that day. Floressa. I think she could be quite talented, but like I just said, like the favourite, he does look rock solid in here. Got a text message earlier said it was a weak renewal. I don't think it is. Like I think Sonic Commas, he could really be anything. I mean, that race obviously had King Rowlands in it. He had the Nichols horse as well. Was it Ask for Glory? was a nice horse last year in bumpers. You obviously mentioned Hang In There. The one I liked and I came down on was Silver Hallmark. Thought he jumped very well. Listen, the race was a bit, I suppose, messy is at the start on his last run, Silver Hallmark. So it's impossible to know, I suppose, how good that form is. I just liked the way he jumped. It was at Chepstow. It was, I suppose, quite slow early on, so maybe turned into a bit of a sprint. But he obviously comes out and he beats McFabulous 4 lengths. And I think McFabulous, even though he disappointed last time, I think he's a horse, obviously, that showed a lot in bumpers as well. So I just liked the way he travelled through the race. Silver Hallmark quickened up well, and I thought he jumped brilliantly. So he'd be the one for me there, and he has been backed as well. And for Fergal O'Brien, of course, who's one of the top personalities on Twitter. Thomas, do you think he could be the new Fergal O'Brien of Irish racing on Twitter? Could we get you on Twitter soon?
You wouldn't know. Stranger things have happened.
We're tagging that 8 points to play. We need to be able to tag your name in the tweets, you know. Maybe it might take off for you. But lads, listen, well, come on, that's the Tolworth Novices hurdle. We'll come on to the next race that we're previewing here at Wincanton, the 3:15. This is the veteran I was talking about, lads. Valdez, 13 years young. I thought he was going to make up into a nice Arkle horse at one point in time. I think he ran a good race to finish 4th, I think, at the end of Arkle chase. I thought he might be hard to beat. He's only up a couple of pounds here, Ronan.
Yeah, he's a remarkable horse, I suppose. 13, and what was he? 1,200 days off the track there when he came back. I think that was last season, and. Yeah, I don't know.
The 3:15 at Wincanton, of course, is the Boyle Sports handicap chase as of today. But yeah, go on.
Yeah. No, he did it nicely at Hereford. I don't know, a £5 higher mark now, and probably, I know it's not the deepest race, but it's probably a better race than what you had at Hereford there. I was just drawn elsewhere. I suppose there's a couple of other ones, and Baronalco was the same, not too dissimilar profile, coming off a couple of long absences, but he seems to go very well fresh. And one, was it the Caspian Caviar won last year, the Beth Victor? Can't remember. One of the big 2.5 miles handicap chases at Cheltenham, and he beat Frodon. You know, obviously very good form around that 2.5 miles Cheltenham. I think he can go well, even though he's off a career. Well, he ran off 152 last time, so he's off 150 now, close enough to a career high mark. But he's fairly unexposed. He's only had 9 starts over fences. I think he could go well. I see Count Marygold's favourite. I did like him. I saw that, but he only finished 6th last time in the Bet Victor, and I just think he has a bit to do on that. I think he lost his shoe, or they had some sort of funny excuse that day. The other one I just came down on was real eye catcher last time. That was Art of Payroll. Used to be trained by Sandra Hughes, gone to Harry Fry, and put up a couple of nice bumps. But he's just had a lot of problems. But he finished 4th last time over 2 miles. If you just watch it coming down the hill, it just got outpaced. It was the race at the December meeting, that Northern Pole one. But he looked set for like second last at one stage. We just stayed on past horses up the hill. Real eye catching. He's down to a mark of 137. It's going to be a second start off a wind up as well. I just thought he had loads of scope now off this southern mark, which looks workable. And I think he's around 111 power. That'd be interesting if he is declared. I'd be having a look at that. So Art Hero probably be my vote now, I think.
Fair enough. It's good. You're kind of looking at him myself, but I just think £5 was lenient enough for a horse of high class. This fella jumps exceptionally well, always, and then travels well in his races. So you're guaranteed, I suppose, coming down to, I would like to think that coming down to the for like Valles will bang there down to the third last, second last at Wincanton, and the track I think will suit as well. Andrew Blair-White, what did you come down on?
I think I'm not sure whether he'll end up being declared or not, but I was very, very sweet on Baronalco here at kind of 11-2, 6-1. He obviously hasn't been the easiest to train. He does have a few big absences in him. But you're going on about a bit of class with Valdez. This is a horse that's beaten Frodon. He was 4 lengths second to Top Notch in a Grade 1. He was second to Road to Respect in a festival handicap. Like, he's just brilliant form in this. I know he's off top weight here, but I just see him at Wincanton. If he can get out in front, he wings fences. He's a brilliant jumper at the best of times. And I think so often in these English handicaps, a lot of horses in behind start making mistakes, and actually horses on the front end can often be very profitable to watch. I was actually over at Cheltenham when he won the Bet Victor, and him and Frodon went off, and you thought they went off far too fast, but horses were falling in behind and bringing down others. Only 5 or 6 of them ended up finishing. And if this horse gets into a good rhythm out in front, he'll be very hard to catch.
Would you be worried about this? What's the time off the track, maybe?
Not really, because he came off a similar absence last year and came second on his reappearance, and then went on to win the Bet Victor. So I think he'll run a big race at 11 to 2, 6 to 1. Like he's even a bit of an each way price there. It's not a brilliant each way price, but I can't see him out of the front 3.
That's a pretty sweet selection for Andrew Blair-White. That's definitely going to be in the 8 points on Saturday, I'd say, guaranteed. Thomas Coyle, Colin Finley's an ageist, but I think you're against English racing the way you talk sometimes. Have you anything in this?
The 2 horses I picked out, you're just after spieling about them. I'm on Baron Alco as well, and Art Payroll, so I've absolutely nothing to add. Literally, I think Baron Alco at the price is definitely. And as Ronan said, runs well fresh. He's down a few pound. Just Art Payroll, an ex-Days Hughes horse, then Sandra Hughes. Just the trip, up and trip from the last time, as Ronan said as well. Literally, boys, you just took any bit of words I had out of me, so I'm absolutely useless. So
that's grand.
But they're the two, Baron Alco and Art Payroll. They're the 2 I had.
And what would you think about Val as a 13-year, from a trainer's point of view, 13 years on the clock? Of course, he missed a good bit of time as well. What age is Forever Gold?
Yeah, he's 13 now as well. Yeah, sure. Some of them are like a fine red wine we're drinking down there in Finley's, you know. Some of them get better with age.
Fair enough, lads. Listen, we're going to come on to Naas on Sunday, the Irish Daniel Farms EBF Novice Chase. I suppose, lads, Willie Mullins is a couple. I think he's 3 entered in here. Tornado Flyer, Bapom, Cashback as well was impressive at Navan. Ronan, I tell you what, I let you take us through. I suppose the Willie Mullins 3 or what. This race is a hot race, isn't it? In fairness, it's been won by some nice types over the years. Articulum, Shane's Hill has won this. Fleming Star back in 2012. Yeah,
nice race for sure. Hard to know what's definitely going to run. As you said, Willie's got 3 in there at the moment. I was impressed with Tornado Flyer at Navan when he won. I think he looked real pacey that day, the way he got away from I'm a Game Changer. I thought that it was quite a good race as well. But Home, I think, is going to win further, isn't he?
I thought he jumped quite quick, actually, the last day at Naas, to be honest.
Yeah, I question him up.
I tell you what, the words of Paul Townend as well in the aftermath, he was electric over his jumps, and obviously a couple of fences were taken out in the end. So I thought, to be honest with you, that this would be right up his street, especially on, I suppose, maybe yielding to soft.
Yeah, I don't know, 2 miles in Naas.
They actually watered Naas today. They put water on it.
Yeah, could be quick, and
it came up good yielding in places, and they done some watering this morning. Because I think whatever rain we're going to get is finished today, so it could be good enough ground there on Sunday.
Yeah, Cashback's Willie's other one. I thought he did it nicely in Navan as well. Beat a horse that Henry Bromwich called Capucci Mix. He didn't get very far at Leopardstown, but I thought he's a nice horse. He eventually came through to beat him quite comfortably.
Do you know what I thought was an interesting one, though, lads? 0-10 for Emmett Mullins. We haven't seen him, I suppose, since his win at Galway over fences by Shantu, 7-year-old. But he's a lovely sort of a horse. He's versatile. Emmett Mullins as well said, of course, he would be a grand horse. He's actually ran on the flat, I think, as well. So that's 0-10. I thought he would be interesting if he lined up in here against maybe, like I said, we don't know what he's going to enter. Do you have any thoughts on this, Andrew Blair-White?
Yeah, I'd be with you there, Barry. I think 0-10 is very interesting. The only thing I'd say was his jumping at Galway was fairly abysmal, I must say. He got through that race just through pure class, but he was a very good hurdler last year. Had some very good performances. I would say out of Willie's 3, Tornado Flyer won't run, because I'd say they'll have bigger aspirations than this race for him. Bapome might, but I think they're thinking the 2 miles is now Bapome's trip again. I saw the other day Ruby Walsh was putting him up as an each way alternative for the Arkle, so they obviously have it in their head that 2 miles is now back to being his best, that he's not finishing his races off that great at 2.5. But I'd say Cashback is probably the most likely Mullins runner here. And he did it well at Navan. 0-10, if his jumping was to come forward, would give him a big race, though, I think. I think he's a horse of a lot of ability. Probably better ground seems to suit him. So you wouldn't want it overly soft, but I don't think it will be. So he'd be one I'd give a chance to.
Thomas Coyle?
Yeah, I like 0-10 as well, but he would have to jump a lot better. Just running through the other few runners, the Boucher, being very frustrating, but finally got his head in front in Fairyhouse, and then went to England the last day and was second, wasn't he? Was it Sandown or somewhere?
It's a very frustrating horse, isn't he?
Yeah, but look, he might get his act together over fences. You wouldn't know. Very frustrating over hurdles from where he was in his bumper form. Dunvegan isn't the worst animal now in the world either. He won well. I know. Was it Brecon Willie's horse that fell in Fairyhouse? Look, it was still 3 out. It was a long way to go, but he's a bumper winner. He won a bumper in Fairyhouse and things like that. But the horse I like in this is the bottom horse. I'm a Game Changer.
We're actually, do you know what, lads? We're after mentioning every single.
I know I was running through the rest of them, but I'm a Game Changer is the one I like. On the run against Tornado Flyer, he was beaten 4 lengths. If you actually go down to the second last, you nearly thought he had Willie's horse under pressure. The only reason I really like him in this, he's getting £8 off all the other horses. He's rated 142 or 3.
Yeah. And
he's getting £8 off all the other horses. So he's like, if he runs his race, he's going to run to a mark of 150. Like, they're going to, like, you know, he's going to make a race of it. Just on that, getting the £8, I thought he was going to be interesting. He'd probably be a nice enough price as well, considering if Willie's horses, whatever he runs, you know. So he could be a bit of value down at the bottom.
Fair enough. I think if Bapome runs, he wins. Simple as that. But 0-10, I think, is very interesting. Envoy Allen. Let's come on to the Lawlers of Naas Novices Hurdle. I suppose this is the one we're all going to see, apart from Thomas's Kyle's horse in the bumper. We'll talk about it a bit later. Sure. But Envoy Allen in the 220, lads. Andrew Blair-White, you were up at Fairyhouse, and I think you kind of fell in love with Envoy Allen this day in particular. So is he? First of all, what's your thoughts on him stepping up in trip, and do you think that's the right way to go with him?
I think yes. I'm on the fence about it. I think in time he does need a step up in trip. I'm not really seeing the reason why they're doing it just yet, considering he's beating everything at 2 miles and beating them quite comprehensively. Like he has the measure of Abacadabras, and he's now kind of a warm favourite for the Supreme. In my eyes, I'd have the Supreme as being a little bigger, I suppose, than the Ballymore, but that's just personal opinion. He does look like he could handle any trip, though. He jumps slickly. His form, like even his maiden hurdle run in Down Royal, is working out wonders as well. Like he's just a very, very good horse. I can't see him getting beaten. One I would say that could well follow him home is Longhouse Poet for Martin Brazel. I think he's a type of horse you'd have to keep the right side of, potentially as an outsider for the Ballymore this year. Same connections as City Island, and obviously the owners sponsor the race. He did it quite nicely last time out, having been second on hurdle debut. He looks to be progressing quite nicely. He beat Monkfish in a bumper last year as well, so it's not bad fun in the book. But I do think if NYLN comes here in top form, he wins. He won't win by that far, because he doesn't win by that far, but he'll win very comfortably by a couple of lengths.
Fair enough. Ronan Groome, can I ask you one question?
Absolutely.
Is Envoyal the second coming?
He could be. You can't really say yet, can you? But he just wins and wins, doesn't he? He just keeps winning. The bumper form last season just works out. As Andrew said, the Down Royal form worked out so well. The Grade 1 at Ferry House is working out really well. It's hard to see what can take him on here, and he should win again. He's odds on to do so, and if he was mine, and it's so easy to say this when you don't own horses or you're not close to ever owning a horse, but I want to run him in the Champion Hurdle. Why wouldn't you want to go down that route this year if they're thinking that maybe he's going to go over fences next year? Why don't you have a go at the Champion Hurdle this year? Just, he gets beat. You can think about fences then. But, if they have such belief in him and he keeps winning and they're big owners. They've had their Cheltenham Festival winners last year as well. Like, why not have a crack? But sure, I guess that's a question for another day. What will take him on here, I'm not sure. Elixir Dene and Longhouse Poet are quite closely matched on the Naas form. Was there a Nav and Longhouse Poet one last day, showed loads of pace to get away off of a slowly kind of run maiden. So he did it nicely. It's hard to see what else is there. I don't know if it's Jonadil gonna run. He's been progressing nicely.
He's actually come in for support today, which is, when the money comes midweek for your Willie Mullins horses, especially for the rest of the weekend, it can be significant. But the one like Elixir Dane, I think was very impressive on I suppose slower ground at Naas last time. And only David Mullins, I suppose, on the podcast previewing Christmas, David did say he liked this horse quite a lot. I'd be hoping he'd step forward again. He obviously beats Longhouse Poet. I can't see any reason why Andrew, the horse you like here, Longhouse Poet, reverses the form here. And I think Elixir Dane, I'm calling him Elixir the Nuts now. Elixir Dane, I think Mark Walsh did say in the aftermath as well that he's a much stronger horse this year. And he's by actually the same sire, Muta here, as Envoyal. And I haven't, do you know what? I haven't heard one person. Maybe I just haven't been reading enough, I suppose, comments or reports on Twitter, but I haven't heard one person take on Envoyal in any way, shape, or form since any of the previews started this year. Just everyone seems to be with the horse, and I think I'm going to take him on right until the death this season. He's just a horse. I just think Abacadabras, a faster run 2 miles the last day, especially in the Royal Bond. I thought they went slow early on. Even though I'm bitter, I suppose Envoyal, he settled in lovely and he jumps very well. It's very hard to pick holes in him. But just the way he wins, I just think he's going to be, he goes from the front, obviously, jumps well. I just think a fast run 2 miles and he would be vulnerable. So I can see why they're stepping him up in trip. But again, I'll just have to take him on here, lads. He's only a novice. He's only ran a couple of times over hurdles. And the two I like in here is obviously Elixir Dane, but French Dynamite, I think, is very interesting for Mouse Morris. He only won a maiden after winning a point-to-point for Donegal Doyle. He was an expensive purchase. I think it was 165. He was bought for in May. But I have to say, I liked what it was hands and heels the last day. Looks like your typical Mouse Morris horse that We saw it last year. He likes to run horses in this race. His better horses obviously ruled the world last year. Sorry, Rule the World won this race, and last year, of course, Sam's Profile as well. So Mouse does like this race, this target. I think the horse is very unexposed. He comes in here, and this might be a bit of a bold shout to say he's going to be Envoy Allen, but I would take on Envoy Allen. He's probably going to be odds on here, is he, Thomas?
I'd imagine so, lad.
You think I'm crazy?
Absolutely crazy, and I think Andrew is crazy to think he's only going to win by a length or two as well. Lads, step up the prep. I'm telling you, he's going to come home on his own. He won't be ridden as prominent either. They can sit him in now, get a lead. 2 Mile, I suppose they were just gunning away. He'll sit in, he'll turn in. Davey will pull him out, go down to the last, and it'll be all over.
Jesus.
I'd say, I'm telling you.
What do you think, Ronan?
I'm telling you. I think Alexa or Danny will chase him home, but Russell will be looking between his legs, looking for him, I'd say.
That's a bold statement. You heard, I suppose, Jane Mangan was it on RT saying that he's the best horse in training. As I said, I've yet to heard one person, I suppose, take him on this year. But I'd be happy to do so. Ronan, what was your conclusion?
I think he's going to be 2 to 5 at the very least. When I don't even know if they've priced this up, but if he was like 1 to 3 or something, that seems right. Like what he's done, and he's racing against maiden hurdle winners here. Basically, he's a great. He's from a top yard with a top reputation, with Grade 1 winning form. Form that's worked out really well, and he just wins, doesn't he? I could see what Andrew said. He might just win 2-3 lengths because that's what he does. He's not that flashy type of horse that goes away on the bridle. I could see him winning 3 lengths, but I can just basically see him winning. I don't think he has to do anything crazy or flashy. If he wins 2 or 3 lengths, I wouldn't be surprised with that either.
Fair enough. I've been wrong before. Keith Donoghue loves him as well, obviously, when we had him on the podcast at the start of the year. But I'll take him on here, and I'll take him on between now and the end of the season. I think he is a horse, I suppose, that is hyped up. Thomas Coyle is laughing. Okay, 150 at Naas is the Goulings Hardware handicap chase, lads. Ronan, you love these big Irish handicaps. This is, I suppose, what's the top rate horse in here? Kildare. He was well punted actually the last day at Fairyhouse, and he came down, of course, before the last. You think he was beaten, but I thought he was interesting here.
Yeah, he runs well quite a lot and doesn't really win. He might land a decent one at some point, but he wouldn't be for me. It's hard to know here with no when you're just waiting to see who's going to get declared or whatever. One that I might be interested in if he does get declared is End the Bulger's Everlasting Promise. On his penultimate run, he beat another one of these Great Can at Thurles fairly easily. And then he was fourth in the Manila Times race at Nav, and that was the Foxrock handicap. That was run at a kind of mad pace. Whispering the Breeze went off in front, and he may just struggle to keep up that day, but he was actually well punted. That was over 2.5 miles, and he kind of just stayed on into fourth. I think coming back and trip might just suit him, and he's lightly enough raced. I think he's only 7 or 8 runs over fences. I think he could have a bit more in him off his mark of 125, and I didn't think this race looked like there was any kind of real unexposed type that could be thrown in. So if he was entered, I think he'd be close enough to the top of the market, I'd imagine.
Thomas Coyle, the 150 at Naas, which is the East Coast Seafood and Goulings Hardware handicap chase. You say you've all the winners picked out, and you could have one in here.
Yeah, he could be unexposed. It's Porrick Roach's horse, Out of the Loop. He's £10 less over fences than he is over hurdles. He put up a little bit of a sequence. He won 2 in a row in Fairyhouse. He won decent handicaps. I remember we fancied Nobody Home one day. We didn't think he'd be bet, and this horse Out of the Loop absolutely cantered all over us and finished second to him. He went on then a few weeks later back to Fairyhouse again. He won a good pot. He won I think it was a Grade C handicap hurdle. Mark Walsh rode him again. He actually bet Gordon's horse, that's Sir de Burley, who's gone up to 150 over hurdles now. He's had three runs in beginners' chases. First run was okay. Last two, bit more unexpiring. He was bet out of sight by Poem the last day. Just a JP McManus horse into a handicap. Could have £10 up his sleeve. On paper, this isn't the greatest race in the world. If he came back to his hurdle form, I'd imagine he'd go very close.
Fair enough, Thomas Coyle. We'll see you down at Naas on Sunday, of course. Good run by Go At It again the other day at Punchestown. And is it Diali runs in the first 4-year-old bumper at Naas on Sunday as well? Fancy him to go well?
Yeah, delighted with the mare on Sunday. I actually wasn't going to run her an hour before it. The ground was getting quick. The horse in the first race actually got injured, and I was very close to pulling her out. Probably changed tactics a little bit, which probably didn't help. But she probably travelled nearly one of the better into the race. She just got tired. She missed a bit of work last week, but it should leave her fairly right now for whenever she goes again. And the horse on Sunday, first 4-year-old bumper of the year. It's hard kind of to gauge against maybe the big guns like Joseph and that. I see he's a horse by Galileo in it, but this horse doing everything. He's doing everything right at home for us. I think he could be a nice horse. He's fit. He seems in great form. We gave him another breeze today. Done everything we wanted. Could be a horse at a big price that might surprise one or two people. So hopefully
we'll see you down in Naas on Sunday, Thomas Coyle. I believe you to go back out to the yard and feed him now anyway. So we'll let you go. But before we finish up, the 150 at Naas, Andrew, whenever came to you, had you something I suppose picked out at a price here?
I didn't have much of a say, to be honest. It looks a tricky enough race. I would give a small mention maybe to Allardyce for Eddie O'Grady. Won at Goran, beaten Conroy Boy by 6 lengths, 2 starts ago, and then was third on Stephen's Day behind Drumconnor Lad and Bazio in that handicap chase, which isn't a bad race usually. I'd be interested to see whether he turns him out again here. He obviously mightn't. We're on Thursday, so we don't know the decks yet, but he's still on not a bad racing weight, so he might have a chance each way if he gets declared.
Fair enough. Kildowry and Envoyallen to get turned over on Sunday, lads. Don't slag me off too much. As I said to you already, I'm not getting the Duvan Vatour vibes off this horse, so he could well go in here, but I'd definitely be taking him on at Cheltenham, lads. And I've no doubt if he does go in here, he will go off very short at Cheltenham in March. But Thomas, just want to wish you very best of luck again on Sunday, and as I said, we'll see you down there. He's gone to feed the horse. And Andrew Blair-White, thanks very much for coming on.
No worries, Barry. Cheers.
Ronan Groome from the Irish Field, thanks very much. I'll talk to you soon.
Cheers, Barry. Good luck.
Bye-bye.